Hello, grade fours! Welcome to another music lesson where we will be doing our solfege warm up. I'll be teaching you a new kind of descending scale and we will be learning a new rhythm, the tum-ti rhythm. Remember, we started off our term with a nice and easy piece. I just eased you into the term with notes that you're very familiar with, rhythms that you already know, but now the real work begins, okay? So let's begin with this warm up first, remind ourselves what we did last week, and then work on our descending scale. Do, we start here. Do, do, re, do, mi, do, fa, do, so, do, la, do, ti, do, do. Now, instead of doing that sequence as we come down, we're going to be doing this instead. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So we're coming from high do, ti, la, and then we start from the middle note, ti, la, so, then the middle, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Let's take it a lot slower now. Do, ti, la. And I'm going to emphasize what the middle note is that we'll need to come back to, okay? Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Let's do it one more time, much slower. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So let's just do it one time, beginning to end, and then we'll move on to our rhythm of the day. Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, now let's move on to our rhythm. Now, the tum-ti rhythm is made up of a dotted quarter note and an eighth note. A dotted quarter note and an eighth note. Now, the value of the dotted quarter note is 1.5 beats. So, we will say tum, 1.5 beats. The dot is an eighth note. It's a value of an eighth note. An eighth note is half the value of a quarter note. So we know a quarter note is 1 beat. An eighth note is half a beat. Just make sure you remember that. Quarter note is 1 beat. Eighth note is half a beat. So that dot is half a beat. So we will say tum. It'll be like we're counting one end. One end. So that means you hold the note for that long. One end. So when we put it alongside the eighth note that follows it, we'll say tum, ti, tum, ti, tum, ti, tum. So we're giving our quarter note just a little bit of a longer time, a longer value. So I'm just repeating the B note, and it's going tum, ti, tum, ti, tum, ti, tum. So if you're using these tar sounds, it'll be a lot easier to remember this rhythm than trying to count one. I'm trying to count what? One and 1 and 2. Okay, whatever. Yeah. I'm trying to
how to explain it?
Compare to numbers, using numbers instead of ta sounds, but
okay.
That's a whole other situation.
So 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1. Yeah, but it'd be a whole different thing.
Yeah. Okay. So if you can learn to use the ta sounds, it'll be a lot easier to catch on to this rhythm than trying to count with numbers. Okay, so that's why we use our ta sounds. Now we're going to use the piece Go Tell It on the Mountain to help us learn how to play this rhythm within a piece. Now, this version of Go Tell It on the Mountain is not the one you know. So make sure you're actually reading the notes given and the rhythms given in this piece rather than what you think you know of the piece. So this piece starts with a long first note, 4 beats. So we count. That's where we start. A semi-breve or a whole note for our first note. Then our tum-ti rhythm comes. Tum-ti, tum-ti. Okay? One more time. So let's put it together with the semi-breve, the whole note. And what notes am I playing for this tum-ti rhythm? I'm playing B, A, G, E. B, A, G, E. So make sure your fingers are getting ready for all of that movement. So let's put those notes together one more time. 1, 2, 3, and go. One more time. Let's go. Okay, now we have our semi-breve, so this will be easy, nice and slow. That's just D and G. Let's move to line 2. Now we just have quarter notes and half notes. I'd like you to read along with me. 1, 2, line 2. Let's try that again. 3 and go. So you really need to be counting your half notes especially. So make sure you're giving quarter notes 1 beat and your half notes 2 beats. Ta, 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 and so on. Now line 3 is almost the same as line 1. So let's play the first part that we have already learned. One more time. That's now the change. G, A, 2 beats for each. Ta, ta. So let's put that whole line together, line 3 together. 1, 2, 3, and go. Then we finish off with line 4. I almost ran out of breath. That last note is tied. Those last 2 notes are tied, which makes them 8 beats. Okay? 2 whole notes tied make 8 beats. So let's play a whole piece beginning to end. If you notice, the notes are very easy. All we're doing is playing B, A, G. Our lowest note is E, D, and there's an E in between there, which doesn't come too often. So the main thing in this piece is to learn how to play your tum-ti rhythm and to count everything else according to how it's meant to be counted. So let's go from the very beginning to the end of this piece. 1, 2, 3, let's go. I had to take a breath just before I played those long notes over there. So that is Go Tell It on the Mountain with our new rhythm, the tum-ti rhythm. Make sure you learn it line by line just as I have shown you. In fact, you should have been playing with me this whole time. If you're just sitting there looking at the screen like this, then you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So make sure you practice line by line. Make sure you really learn this tum-ti rhythm because it's going to show up in the next piece that we learn next week. I'll see you then.